Hi everyone, it's Ruth on Staria Bar, and I'm just going to give you a brief lecture that I did at the Baha'i Center. This was on February the 8th, and it was called Angels Working With Us. I do have the paper in front of me, so you may see me looking down at once in a while to look at it, and I'll do my best to, look at you guys, and so you guys can at least get the lecture a little bit. And this is the first of the series that I'm working on, which is called The Angelic Journey Within. This one is called Angels Working With Us, and also it goes into there, what are angels? Okay, so angels working with us. And I decided to start with a story from my favorite book, one of my favorite books, called Angels in Our Midst, and it was about a white dog. So here it goes. This is how I started it. One cold snowy day, a woman came back from shopping. As she passed by the doghouse, she noticed that the loop was empty. Somehow the dog freed himself and dragged the chain with him. Now the dog skipper was blind. He had been blinded at an early age as a result of protecting his family. A motorcycle guy had sprayed him with a dangerous chemical in the eyes. The mother knew she had to find him, because if they left him, he would freeze to death, especially on the coldest day of the year, and she knew it would be getting dark soon. She called her daughter to let her know what had happened, and she insisted on joining her. While she waited for her daughter's arrival, she wrote a note to her husband, explaining the situation and what direction they would be going in the woods. When her daughter arrived, they both went looking for Skipper. They were dressed in warmer clothes. As they continued walking, they could hear Skipper's barks coming down the hollows. So they were not so sure in which direction he was, because what sounds like a bark in the north could actually have been coming from the south. As Skipper's barks continued, they got hoarser. It was his barks that kept them going. They prayed and looked everywhere. It was starting to get late. As they were heading towards the east, a white dog stood before them, a rather large one, probably a German Shepherd type. He would run a few steps and then come back to the same spot. Then he would run another few steps more than before and return to the same spot. The third time is when they finally got it. The white dog was acting like Lassie when she wants someone to follow her. Well, out of curiosity, they followed her, and it sounded like Skipper's barks were getting closer and closer. Then, with the help of the white dog, they found where Skipper was, and he was all tangled up in the brush with his chain. As they fumbled to free him, they would watch the white dog, and it would just step aside. Then they soon forgot about it and got Skipper untangled, and when they looked, the white dog was nowhere in sight. They couldn't make a sense of it, for they have never seen such a beautiful animal before. Could it have been an angel of God that took the form of a dog, a white dog, so they would follow it? Skipper only lived another 5 years, and the white dog never returned until the fall, when Skipper got free again. And this time, in their hearts, they knew they weren't going to find him. Let me go on. Okay. They looked everywhere, and this time there was no barking, and their final glimpse of Skipper was with the white dog, and they were both gone. Now, who's to say that this white dog was not an angel, or at least Skipper's guardian angel? Even animals have a guardian angel, just like we do. And these guardian angels, they are working with us. They show up at interesting times in your life, you see. With me, they showed up in numerous times in my life. However, I just want to let you know that a lot more of these stories you can find in Angels Are Missed. A lot of these guardian angels that people talk about, and see, they show up in so many different forms. They show up as a fella who stops a war, just a soldier that just out of nowhere just stops a war for no time at all. Actually, I think they said it was a Chinese fella, and he just showed up, and the war just it held everybody at bay, and there was no fighting at the time. And then there are other stories like the Green family, when their daughter had fallen asleep and the house caught on fire, and everyone got out except her, and she was stuck in that house, literally stuck in there, wondering if she was going to make it through, And she had such a strong faith, at least from what I kind of, saw when I read the story, that she would be okay, that she would get out of there, that her time hadn't come yet. And guardian angels show up when your time isn't even near. They'll show up to protect you, to fix you, not to fix you, but to save your life. You see what happened. She was very upset, this young girl, and when she was so crazily trying to find her way out, and she almost was just about ready, to give up. Almost, but yet there was something inside of her, something that caught her attention, that told her that she should have faith and believe. And all of a sudden she felt a gentle hand on her shoulder, and, well, this person or hand led her out of the smoke into fresh air. And, well, the funny thing is, no one saw this being come out with this young girl, this young green girl. I don't remember her name, but I'm sure it's in the story. And her name was Green, something Green. And this angel that she saw, this light, got her to safety and helped her. And helped her find her family so she could breathe again. That's one form. And then they show up as a tall blonde man, pointing, just as little as that, a tall blonde man pointing to a hole in the ice that a little boy fell through, giving the diver the strength to dive in there. The little boy saw this person, but nobody else saw this tall blonde man. Although I think in the story some people do briefly see him, because he was pointing to a hole in the ice where the little boy fell through. And a diver literally dived into that hole. And guess what? Yeah, pulled out the little boy. What an amazing story. There are so many of them. So many. And for the parents out there with your young children, you know how they talk about this friend, that friend, imaginary friend? Have you took into consideration maybe that imaginary friend is actually an angel? Your child's guardian angel. Just, watching over him or her, making sure she's going to be okay, he or she's going to be okay. Just like, an animal will have a guardian angel. Just like you have a guardian angel. A story that I vaguely remember that someone told me was about this car accident that this woman was in. And I don't believe it's in Angels in Our Midst. This car accident that this woman was in, where she got her car smashed, and she was smashed between two cars, and she had no hope of getting out, but yet someone in a priest collar shows up, opens the door, gets her out, puts her on the floor in front of leaving it there where the ambulance guy can see her and take care of her another, and by the way, that woman, she recovered. And it was her guardian angel that saved her. You see why angels are so important? I have some of my own stories I can share too from my childhood. There was Claire, the nanny or babysitter that my family accepted, who showed up out of nowhere but out of a light when I was like, I guess I don't know how old I was, but I knew she was there when I was 2. I knew she was around. But she showed up out of this like white light. You know, this was before I even know who Mary Poppins was, okay? So we're not saying this is not a Mary Poppins influence. But this woman shows up, she appears, there's a light in my window, and out of this light shows up this woman, you know, and I'm like probably 8 or 9 years old at the time, and she shows up in this white dress, white hat, umbrella, you know, looking kind of 18th century style, and she just shows up, and my family accepts her, and her name is Claire, and she stayed with my family for a very, very long time. And when the winds changed, she said she had to move forward, which means when my family life got better, it was her time to move on to the next family, just like always Mary Poppins did. But this wasn't a Mary Poppins inspired thing. This was something that I saw. I even drew her in a picture. If I could find that picture, I'd show it to you on this video of her, the sketch that I did. And like I said, she stayed around for a little while, and when things got better with me and my family, she left. You know, things were going well for a while, and well, then high school comes along, and I'm having a hard time adjusting to high school, and I lose my uncle all in that same year when I'm adjusting to high school. So I'm very upset, and it's a cold January evening, and I go up to a mailbox to mail a letter to a friend out in South Africa, you know, good friend I've been writing to from a fan club that I joined when I was into the Culture Club back then. And I sent him a letter, and there's this fella at the mailbox, just, you know, just like standing there. And at first, you know, I was a little nervous, but yet I felt a sense of peace come over me when he was there. Like I knew that this was safe, that I should have no worries here, that this person was not going to harm me, was going to help me, and somehow was a guiding light in my life. And, well, I, of course, you know, we actually brought him home. I brought him home, and my brother was home at the time, and he was watching TV, and it was very cold, and I made him some hot cocoa, and we talked about the Bible, we talked about angels, and we talked about a lot of stuff. My family was at my mom and dad, our mom and dad, my brother and I, mom and dad was at the couples club at the church, and they were at some kind of meeting there. And, you know, Tim, he said his name was Tim. He said he was a child, a teenager going to AA because his family, you know, was drinking. And he was going to go, he was from there, at my church. So, you know, it's getting late, and, well, it's time for him to go. So I walk him out the door, I put on my coat, walk him out the door, and, you know, he starts walking away, and he calls back, "Ruth, for everything you've done tonight, God will repay you," he says. And I'm like, wait a second. And I'm like going after him, and like, he just disappears. He walks into, the snow had become misty, and he just walks into the mist and vanishes, just like that. Never to be seen from or heard from again. I even, you know, tried to do a follow-up, and, you know, I went down there to ask about him, and nobody remembered him except one person who mentioned that, well, this person had passed away a year ago, didn't understand why I was asking. Did God send another angel in a tough time of my life with my uncle being gone and school, just me adjusting to high school? Is it possible? I believe so. And when I finally adjusted, made some really good friends, you know, started getting involved with a clique of friends of my own, I was fine. And then I got into the mid-year of high school, and this other girl just shows up out of nowhere, and I'm going through all this stress, dealing with, peer pressure, people, people that were really not friends, but you know how teenagers, follow the crowd, and well, I followed the crowd and followed the wrong crowd. And that's all you really need to know. It was not a good situation at all. But she stuck by me. I remember seeing this girl, Kim, and she told me her name was Kim. We kind of, she came across the street, and she, met me at this corner candy store that's been there for years, and we became really good friends, and she would come to homeroom, and she was in homeroom, she was in study hall, lunch, and she would sit with me and my friend Carol and Carrie Ann, and she was there. And then one day, me and Carrie Ann have finally got a clique of our own, and we found a couple of people that can accept us for who we are, and we're finally, we're getting along, we got everything figured out, where things are looking like we got it under control and things are better. And, well, this girl, Kim, is no longer coming to classes. And, graduation and stuff was, school wasn't over yet. She just, vanished, never to be seen again. And I went to Mr. Hartel's office and, decided to ask about this girl, Kim. And he did some research and looked it up and found out that there was a Kim. And she gave me her last name, which I don't remember. But he looked her up in the files. And guess what? Girl died of leukemia a year ago. I think God just sent me another one. Because I was, again, struggling in life. So you see, God sends us angels when situations are tough. If an angel is called to the planet, it's kind of like Touched by an Angel, if you've ever seen that series. How Monica and Tess and Andrew, even though he was the angel of death, would help other people. These angels are out there. They show up, and they help us in other ways, shape and form. And also, there are human, physical angels, that people that you meet along your journey. And they do a little thing in your life. And something similar like our friend Northern in Arizona, when Craig and I at the time, my husband at the time, were going through a tough time in our lives, and we didn't have the money to get by, and they were having a hard time. They didn't have enough for a Christmas tree and stuff like that, and Christmas to them was just kind of like no so. And me and Craig put our heads together, and we found Christmassy stuff from our supply, and we made a stocking for them and just hung it outside their door. To let them know that we cared, that, we love you, and Christmas is here. I know we don't have much, all of us. And, I mean, that's why there's friends. Well, when you know it? Next day, there's a knock on our door, and there's Northern with some tree thing or wreath around his neck, all happy and excited because Craig and I just went that extra mile. To give them a Christmas to remember. And they gave us a Christmas to remember back. You see, Northern worked for a food bank out in Arizona. And like I said, remember how I said Craig and I didn't have much at all? We just had moved to Arizona, and we're just living by, no job, no nothing. We're trying to find work, and here's Northern and his roommate, and the knock on the door, all of a sudden they just bring this incredible box full of food from the food bank, and we had food for a year. And in that year, life got better for us, and the four of us remained friends until, Northern had to leave, and he got cancer, and I offered him an opportunity. And I gave him a little, because I was an herbologist, and I studied, and it wasn't going to prevent cancer, but I gave him an herbal tonic to at least help put it in, whatever the word is, where it goes into remission or something like that. I think that's the word. And I gave it to him, and I hear back later how it went into remission, and he hadn't had a problem with it at all. So these are what we call earth angels, angels that are people that come out of the blue and go out of their way. All of us have that ability in ourselves to do it. Like, for instance, one of my most recent experiences was my friend Rosa. I won't go into last names, but she bought me and my family a whole turkey dinner one year because we didn't have enough money for a turkey dinner. Again, angels on earth working with us. I mean, I think you all should take a look at your lives and you know, and see, do you remember a time in your life where things just happened and you either never saw these people again, or maybe you heard or felt something, went in a different direction to help someone else or do something else, and that saved you. These are what angels are all about, angels working with us. People on earth that are angels that come out of the blue. Regular angels that show up and just appear and come out of nowhere. There are just so many angels. I mean, there's Michael and Raphael and Fortunata, and there are all these various angels you can pray to like help you with certain things. But there are live angels on earth that do help people. And this lecture that I did talked about that, how angels show up out of nowhere when you least expect them. How they show up as one man putting a whole army at bay. How they show up as a tall blonde man that points out a hole in the ice that a little boy fell through. An angel with helping a little girl who's lost in a fire when the house catches on fire and pulls her out of it. A person that may dress like a priest who shows up and pulls a woman out of a car that's about to burn to a crisp. These are all signs of angels, people helping us. There's a book called Angels in Our Midst out there, and these stories are coming from that book. It's called Angels in Our Midst, and it has numerous stories like this and poems about angels. They're not only angels that we can pray to that can help us, but they're people, actual people on this planet that just show up and think nothing of helping another person. They come in forms of ministers that have a fellowship that help guide you on your journey, like the Gathering of Light. They show up as a woman named Elaine Resnick, who I don't know if she's with us anymore, who had a company called the Eyes of Learning, where you learn about all these different metaphysical things. They show up as a white dog when another dog is either lost or can't be found or coming to near the end of their lives. They show up like Saline, who is actually with us, the other cat who saved someone who's really dear to me who fell, and he fell down a flight of stairs, and Saline didn't give up, and he scratched on the door of the landlord until someone came and called the ambulance, and John and got a hold of a friend named John who came and out of last minute away from his job and picked up Bert to take him to the hospital. These are people, real live angels that we don't even notice. They show up as somebody from a Baha'i group or from the Jains or from a Hindu group or from a Native American group or a Wiccan group or you know, there's so many forms out there that they show up as a message that you might hear in your brain telling you to take another way just to be on the safe side. They show up as spirits that guide you out of a bad situation. They show up as animals like hawks and quails when you're lost in a forest or on a hike, and they guide you out, like in Arizona when I got lost and a hawk led me out of South Mountain safely. And they show up like an unexpected person who's driving by when you're out hiking with a friend at Bell Rock, and you're completely lost. They show up like nature spirits when you call out to God and say, God, I'm lost. What can I do? What direction do I need to go in? Help me. And they come down like a swoosh of wind, leading you in the direction you're supposed to be going. Or they show up like a brook that leads you to safety. Or they're just, like I said, there are so many forms of angels out there. And this one that I just discussed is one of the first lectures of my Angelic Journey Within series, talking about angels among us, or working with us. And the series has 7 more lectures in it that I am in the process, that are written, and I'm in the process of talking in libraries and centers and learning centers like the Eyes of Learning, places like libraries and community centers. There's just so much out there that my guides have been telling me to do, like go back to the beginning. And I think that's exactly what I'm going to do, is go back to the beginning, because I have a message to share. It's not only about vortexes, but angels. I have a message that I can share that, who knows, might help somebody someday. Those of you watching this video, you might have heard something in this video that might have opened up a doorway for you, or helped you with a question you had in your mind. Like I said, you've seen my vortex videos and my talks on vortexes and stuff like that, and I hope one day I'll have a live vortex setup to show you. But now it's all about the angelic journey within, the journey you take within yourself to find out who you are, where you're going, how to stay connected, what obstacles you're going to have to face, and how to move through those obstacles, and following your instincts, and learning and listening to your gut and trusting yourself. This is all a new series that I'm working on to do lectures on. And I really would love to share this series with the community of people out there that need to hear them. So if there's a library that sees this, or a center or something that sees this on Long Island, please, let me know. Or if you're out of state and if you think you can help me get there, I'm not asking, but that's just a thought. Right now I'm focusing on Long Island, and like I said, I have a message that I would like to share. And when I do the lecture, I will see and have another video you can go watch if you can't make it to the lecture. I will keep you updated about the next lecture I'll be having in the future, which is all about connecting to your higher power. So hang in there, and know that this year, 2019, is a new beginning. And for everybody out there, artists, musicians, writers, this is the year. It's a 3-year. It's a year where you need to express yourself and get your message out there to help the people, aside from myself. I wish you all the best. Blessings to one and all, and may the angels guide your way. And this is Reverend Ruth Anastaria Barr, signing off. Take care and have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.